we're not quite sure how the flame's going to work, so yeah. So please like and subscribe.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we're going to go live here on Amazon as well. So let's go ahead and get that all set up.
Oh god, this thing isn't working.
All right, hello everybody. We are going to be doing a windy day of testing here. So we are going to see if we can continue our testing on our fiberglass wicks. We have a 1/8 cotton wick, and I also am going to do a very improvised, not quite wine bottle, but it's the same idea as a wine bottle. This is a pink grapefruit bottle, but a glass bottle nonetheless. So we are going to see if we can do a little bit of testing on our 1/2 inch fiberglass. So that was the one that we had a review saying that the fiberglass melted. So of course we're doing testing. And most importantly, my safety advisor reminded me you always need to have, we have 2 of these just off camera, fire extinguishers. Also always check to make sure the gauge still shows you have pressure in your fire extinguishers. So because a 1/2 inch wick is a very impressive wick, usually used in backyard torches to make a very large flame, you can see what I've done here is I've kind of cut it almost like a pencil to make a smaller flame tip. So we'll see how that works out.
See how it's like smaller.
Yeah, I've narrowed it down by at least half. So that should make it even melt even faster, right? If it's going to melt. So anyway, I've already got a little fuel in there. I've got a HDPE 4-ounce bottle here that we also sell. I'm going to use that to prime. So what are we going to do? It's not much to it. We're just going to literally shove a piece of 1/2 inch wick into the glass bottle. And
isn't that a lot?
It is, because you want to go more than you need.
That's true. You always should probably get more than you need.
Because what's going to happen is you're going to need to trim it. And of course we haven't really
figured out how you're going to
how we're going to shove this in and get it to stay exactly how far in we want. Well, that's not bad though. That looks like it might work. And then we're going to give that a little bit of a shake to help it prime. And we're also, because it's such a thick piece right here, we are going to put a little bit down the top to make sure it is definitely soaking in right there. So that's good enough.
I see what you mean by how
I think we're only going to do one at a time here because this is a substantial... pull the other ones away. So for safety purposes, because this is such a large...
wick.
Take your fuel, put your fuel away as well.
You don't want to start fire with it.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to start a fire. Also, I'm going to make sure and dry my fingers.
Oh, yes.
Just in case I got a little bit of fuel on my fingers, you always want to make sure dry any of that. Another good thing to do is if you had spilled any fuel, you want to go around and clean up and make sure there's no spilled fuel around.
Why do we have to make sure that there's no fuel on your hands or in that?
Well, definitely not on your hands, because there's a slim chance you light the wick and also your hands.
Ooh.
You don't want to do that.
No. I don't want to do that. That must
You
be
don't want to
cool.
do that.
I mean,
So let's see. We have put some fluid down the top. We've given it a shake. Maybe give it one more.
Last little shake.
Last shake-a. Okay. So we have our 2 fire extinguishers at the ready. It is super windy today, so maybe to increase the chances of us having some success here, we're going to make an improvised shroud here. So make sure we make this big enough. So we'll go around it and around it, and then we're going to open it up so hopefully you can see it. Let's make sure we can actually see. You know what? Let's adjust our angle here. There we go. And make sure.
It's turning. Was that
Keeps
just me
turning.
or was it turning?
It's turning. It's super windy today. not the greatest day to do the testing, but we'd like to see if we're actually going to have it melt. So we're going to have to play around. You can see here, basically I have
Like maybe a centimeter showing?
maybe even just like an eighth of an inch or a 16th of an inch of the wick above the wine bottle. And we're probably going to not do this one too long because this is just for our testing purposes. Ideally,
Is it one of those like?
yeah, well, it's
long
not a
strings?
professional store, not a professional purchased item. So people at home shouldn't be doing this necessarily, but we're just doing a little bit of testing. So let's see how this goes.
I mean, this is also in a grill, so I think.
And that's the other thing too. So we have glass bottle, which we know is a good insulator. I hope people can see there's actually a flame there. Can you see that?
Yes, I can see.
Okay, let's see if we can see that. It's kind of hard to see, I bet.
Hey, maybe you should like zoom it in.
We'll bring it a little closer. We're also inside of a barbecue, which is basically like a fire pit.
Yes. You'll have a little.
Let's bring this over here so that
They can also see.
they can also see. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the shroud down a little bit so you can see a little better.
Oh wait, if you don't notice, I'm pretty sure maybe you can't see the fire, but it's starting to char a little bit. So
That's what we can do is we're going to lift the umbrella a little bit. I bet you can see it a lot better with the umbrella and it's in the shade now. So what is happening here? We have pure paraffin lamp oil. We're using the Ner Mitzvah pure paraffin lamp oil. And the fiberglass doesn't actually burn. What happens is the fibers are so close together that the fluid goes up in the spaces between the fibers, and it's capillary action and it's wicking. So the only part that's actually burning is the tips here, and you can kind of see the tip. Can you see that it's starting to turn a little bit dark? But not very much. It's certainly not melting, is it?
No. Although it really looks like it's gonna blow out.
It looks like it might blow out, though. But you know what we can do? We can bring that up a little bit. Let me make sure you can actually see this.
You mentioned that fiberglass was made for like some sort of blankets.
Yeah, they use for welding blankets. I like putting it in the shade here. I bet you can see the flame a lot better when it's in the shade.
Because they don't melt like.
Yeah, the idea is they weave together a pure fiberglass blanket, and the spatter, the molten, basically the liquid metal spattering against the blanket can take that. So fiberglass can handle liquid metal spattering against it.
I'm pretty sure I sure can. If I can't withstand a burn, I don't think I can stand hot metal.
Yes, you always have to be careful.
Yes, very careful.
So that's another good point here. If you're ever doing any sort of lamp experiments, you never have your children and pets alone with the fire. And anytime you have a child around, it needs to be supervised. If you were going to do a party and there's going to be a decoration that has fire going, you need to have it separated on a table where people can't possibly brush their clothing against it. You wouldn't want anybody bumping into the table and knocking it over. So we have some gravel coming, and I have a really nice hammered stainless steel. It's actually a wine bucket that we're going to use as our centerpiece made. We're going to make
like a pail.
Yeah, it's like a hammered stainless pail that's meant to hold and chill wine, but we're going to adapt it for our purposes.
In this case.
And so we're going to make a safer. There is no such thing as a safe fire device because fire is always dangerous. You need to respect fire.
Always respect fire no matter what.
Yeah, so
even if it's in the barbecue.
Even in the barbecue, something could go wrong. You could bump into this and cause problems. So always have respect for fire. That's for sure. But you can see nothing bad has happened here. It's just working.
It's charring slightly.
Charring slightly, but you know what? The review said, it did blow out.
It has to be like, I'm exaggerating, but it has to be 25,000 miles per hour.
It is a good, I don't think you'd be exaggerating to say there's a 15-mile-an-hour wind at least.
Oh!
Anyway.
I swear it just burned against the foil.
Yeah, you know what happened probably is there was a little bit of fluid on the foil.
That's bad.
Yeah. So anyway, we're not going to run this forever. We're
Yeah.
just going to do a few minutes. But what are we doing? Because the review said it would constantly melt down, the flame would go out, and they would have to advance the wick. And then it would melt back down, go out, and they'd have to advance the wick.
It only burned out because of
The
high
wind.
winds.
Well, they can see the wind. They can see that the flame is going sideways. There's no, and plus, I bet the microphones you can hear the wind as well. So I'm sorry about that. There's probably a lot of wind noise in the microphones. But what we're trying to do here is make sure that people see that our products work. And so anytime I see a 1-star review, I like to immediately do a test. And so what have we done? We've done extensive testing with cotton, small fiberglass, and now we're doing this one by itself because,
Don't want it to like.
well, I wasn't sure. I've never done this small of a jar. You know, this is actually,
Usually you do like.
you know, like
more
a sparkling
giant.
juice. That's
Usually
not a
do,
wine
like-
bottle. It's just a sparkling juice. So
Like-
if you had like an apple cider bottle, you could use that. Doesn't have to be a wine bottle. Doesn't have to have alcohol.
Yeah, sure.
True. So I'm really impressed with how this is holding up. The glass is not cracking. I didn't even bother to peel the label off. The label's not melting.
Oh, I didn't
So-
realize the thing.
So ideally, you know what we would do, but I'm anxious to get a whole bunch of testing done.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
I
so
remember once.
we would
like,
normally soak it in rubbing alcohol or something, or even water, and kind of get the label kind of soaked off.
I remember before you did like with one of those like jars before, like something similar to those jars over there, the small jars.
Oop.
I'll be extinguished because of the
So
high wind.
windy, so windy.
You had 3. Oh,
Ah, it's so windy. You know, we might have to stop the test here because we have about 20-mile-an-hour winds now going here.
I mean, so
You know what I could do is I could probably do. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Lisa. Go ahead.
You had like this 3-hole thing with one of those little tiny mason jars, and 2 went out. One stayed lit, and it would just relight the others because they were so close. I found that funny.
But one thing I will say, that's a good point that you just brought up, is I don't think it's safe to do a mason jar with multiple candles. So only ever have one element burning in a candle, a mason jar candle, I think, because it was too much. You have the risk of too much fire. Remember how tall the flame was? So I would say those are not safe. But these, so what did I do to make this safer? Had I pulled up the wick, you know, a ½ inch, you'd have a 3, 4, 5, 6-inch flame coming off of this candle.
But,
What did I do? Yeah, do you want to talk?
Maybe like a little more so that way you tucked it a little bit so it wouldn't go so high because you don't want high flames. You just want to show that it's staying lit.
Sure, because what I've found is the more wick you have showing will produce more smoke and a larger flame. So to produce, this is almost a candle-sized flame out of a wine bottle because we've shoved the wick almost below the height of the glass lip, you know, the opening to the jar.
Yeah, it's only like it's barely anything.
And it hasn't melted yet, has it?
I mean, unless you count melted charring.
Should we, well, it's going to, what will happen is you're going to burn carbon into the fibers because the fuel has a lot of carbon in it, and through the process of burning, eventually you're going to burn a bunch of carbon into the fibers to the point where they won't wick anymore. So eventually you will have to pull this up and trim it. But not within a few minutes.
I mean, we did like what? Maybe 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, maybe probably the most boring video, but it was a testing. Maybe like part 3 of the 8 Won't Stay Lit
The Won't Stay Lit series. Yeah, I think, you know, it was so long I haven't even edited that video because I didn't have the patience to sit in front of a computer for 3 or 4 hours editing it.
I mean, hey, you said went to like, what, 11?
Well, it's not even that it required editing, but remember it was so long that the battery died, so you have to put those 2 pieces together, and then the video, you know, processing on your computer takes forever.
Oh, yeah, I understand.
So,
and sometimes...
I think we're going to have to probably bring the live stream to a earlier end because of the wind. You want to go for a little bit longer?
Yeah, maybe, would you like to try the mason jars?
I would, but I'm not sure. now that I'm a little more comfortable, I wasn't sure would this produce such a large flame that I felt it was unsafe. But the fact that I've shoved the wick all the way in and I only have a few fibers above the height of the glass bottle, it's producing ever so slightly than a larger candle size flame. So that's pretty safe feeling. And we're not having any issues of, extra
Trimming.
fuel evaporation or other issues like that.
Like an
Anyway,
extra fuel evaporation.
so I would never recommend a alcohol lamp because we did alcohol. Somebody asked us a question about using uh, denatured alcohol with a cotton wick, and so we did testing. And what was really, it did work, but I was getting a lot of extra evaporation because alcohol evaporates very well, obviously. And so it was popping. It was making a popping noise, and if you hear a popping noise with your lamp, you need to stop, blow it out, because you actually have little explosions. You're having extra evaporation beyond where you wanted.
So basically like mini fireworks.
Well, yeah, you're creating an issue where, most likely the small pops are okay, and, anybody who's ever been in a chemistry class, one of the first demonstrations they do is they evaporate some alcohol in a jar and make a little jet out of a jar. You remember that? The person who came to your camp and did that? They made the jar that made the fire shoot out of it?
I don't remember that.
Anyway, so it's a standard chemistry experiment, but you don't want to do that at your house. That's only for a chemistry teacher to show inside of an environment proper for that. So if you ever hear popping noises, blow everything out and stop, because you're going to have problems, because what you're hearing is extra fuel is evaporating and not being burned by the wick, and then it's kind of collecting and exploding a little bit. That pop you're hearing is a little miniature explosion, so you need to stop immediately. But this is paraffin lamp oil, perfectly safe. We're using indoor lamp oil, and I would say that's still going okay. It's important to use an indoor lamp oil because they're very low smoke and they're incredibly safe. If they've been designed to be used indoors, that means they don't have such extra evaporation that you're going to get extra explosion, Anyway, I want everybody to be safe and have fun. So, most importantly, we're demonstrating that our fiberglass wick does not melt. Well, it's still going.
I don't think it should melt if you said that they use it for woven blankets.
For woven blankets. You know what I wanted to do? You're okay?
Uh-huh.
So, I did want to show some demonstrations of, I sell a ceramic wine bottle. Another way you could do this kind of a lamp would be to use a wine bottle stopper. It's a ceramic stopper. Has a little groove down here. Two reasons for that groove. It lets a little bit of air into the bottle. You never want to create a lamp where air can't get into the bottle and you have a vacuum, because it'll eventually go out. It also, if you get it wedged, because it kind of has a taper, you can put a little tool in there to help wiggle it back out. So these can be hard to put in. I will definitely give you that. This is a 3/16 turbo air core cotton wick. And so what do? I kind of collect it all together and I put it into the hole, and I just literally shove as much as I can into the hole, and then I twist while pushing. So I'm literally just holding the wick with a little bit of downward pressure while I twist. And I twist, and I twist, and I twist.
Nice.
And it takes a little patience, because, you're going to see, but it's already starting to pop out.
May I mention that there's so much wind that it's quite, my dad doesn't even have to hold up the umbrella.
The flap there. So, it's just like that. You can see it's already through, and actually, that would be too much showing. You're going to waste wick. You're going to have too high. I would pull it back. Oop, too much.
Oop.
So now I'm pushing and twisting again.
I guess the problem with that is...
Nothing is perfect.
Yeah.
So literally that. You have a few hairs.
That basically looks like half a centimeter.
Yeah, it looks like a little bit of hair sticking out, right?
Yes.
So anyway, it's like a 16th or an 1/8, right? Would you say?
16th.
16th. You're going to go for 16th. Okay.
Yes.
Between a 16th and an 1/8 is showing, and that's enough to produce as you can see, that's what we had here. Just a few hairs sticking out, and we've been using that 3 days in a row. So
3 days. Oh right. 'cause
yeah,
we did lunch
I did it yesterday. Yeah, while you were all
while we were
swimming.
yes swimming.
So let's go ahead and do that again with something else.
Is it okay if I can not pull this up?
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine.
I'm afraid that it's gonna just pop.
So one thing that's tricky is here is the thermal glass holder, and it has a little bit of a cone to it, you can see. And so if you are going to put it in, it's real tricky because you see how much that cut end will flare. Now this one especially, it's been handled a bunch, and so this one will be especially tricky. So what do? I kind of slide my fingers together.
What kind of wick is that?
This is 1/8 fiberglass wick, and I squeeze it together into as much of a bunch as I can. I'm going to use the cone side. It's kind of counterintuitive. I bet you're going to want to try to put it through here because it's going to come out there, but there's no reason you can't put it in through the top and feed it all the way through until it's sticking up. So it's counterintuitive. I actually start with the top of the cone and use the cone and gather all those fibers as much as you can, and then again pushing and twisting. Now it's much better to start with a fresh cut, but you can see it's already through, and now you're going to pull until now, and that's looks like a big mess, right? But watch what's going to happen as that goes in. And now you get it down to just a few fibers, and that just a few fibers is going to be perfect. As you can see here, this one I intentionally, you see that's the full 1/8 inch wick showing, but here I made sure that only part of it was coming through, just to demonstrate would this melt. Oop, did we go out? I think we went out.
Oh well.
Oh, no, we're still going.
Oh.
Here's the problem. It's so bright.
Oh yes. Probably should have done it when the sun was setting.
You know, I was going to do it a little bit later, but since you both were going to be busy with your activities, it seemed like a good time to...
when we were not.
Yeah, so one of you at a time will be able to participate.
Are you planning to keep it on for like another 30
I don't
minutes
think my
plus?
battery will last that long, and I don't know that it's that exciting.
Yeah.
Can you look in here and see if you can see the...
I can see it.
You can see it? Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's grab some extra shrouds. You want to sit down, please, and I can grab the aluminum? Thank you.
Are you going to start another one?
Oh, maybe we'll do one, huh? Because it's super windy. I don't know what we'll be able to do.
I'm not quite sure.
How about the glass one, right? The glass one, I really like those.
This one?
This one here.
Oh, this one's already charged.
Well, that's the whole point. Part of this testing is we're doing long-term testing to see how many times, and really, first thing we're going to try is just giving that a little, we're going to hold my finger on the glass and just kind of shake it around a little bit, just so you get a little fluid going. It's been sitting all day. It was super hot. If this doesn't just light up, and there's every chance it won't, because this is, this is the bare minimum. Just shake it up, see if it'll light. If not, I'm going to put a couple of drops of fuel down the top, and that's going to do the trick, I bet. If the fact we've used it for a few days, it could still not light, and we would have to pull it up and cut it with scissors.
Because you always... What song were we planning on doing next time?
Yeah, it's keep your
Wicks trimmed and...
keep your lamp trimmed and burning, something like that. Here we
What
go.
did you say? Several people made that?
There's at least a half dozen blues artists who have recorded in gospel. It's also kind of a gospel song as well, so they sing it. Means they sing it in churches a lot.
Well, this one has more than the lamp one.
So these are both working. Try to put that down.
You know what it could be is the taller you go, the more windier it gets. So.
That's true. Yeah, this one is working out fairly well, and as you go higher up on...
Oh, wait.
Oh!
Big gust of...
20 mile an hour wind.
The umbrella! God,
I think we're probably going to cut this short, not because it's not working, but because it's super windy right now. We'll do about 20 mile an hour winds probably.
45,000.
Yeah, we live next to a hill, and the hill really amplifies the wind coming down.
Oh yeah, I forgot that if there's ever fog or wind here, it's always bad.
Yeah, kind of the hill kind of collects the wind and makes a channel. So,
Well,
which is nice too, because it's not very hot, right? It's nice day. Oop, we went out. Well, we're gonna light this one. You know what? This is a perfect opportunity to show this and see. We'll put that on the blooper reel. We're gonna go ahead and blow this out because I'm gonna be pulling. You never want to handle. This has fuel in it. You never want to. Oh my gosh! And you're just kind of holding it right over a lit candle. So we're gonna blow this one out.
Can I? Oh, I can't.
I would rather you don't. It's probably better to have the adults blow out the flame. Okay, that's out. So
Alright, what did you
this has been out for a couple seconds. It's just about starting to get a little bit warm up to here. So I would hold it down here. So I'm hoping the camera can see this. Would you describe that as melted?
No.
Well, if it had melted, it would have sunk into the and the fire would have gone out.
It doesn't look melted on the cameras.
Okay, that's good. So I'm hoping it's not even charred.
It's barely.
It's barely charred.
Like it's just like very dark gray and like on speckled, very dark gray on some spots, and that's it.
Yeah. So.
And that's how you know they use that for rolling blankets.
Yes, exactly, because it's literally was encased in fire for the last 15 minutes or so.
The last 15 very blowing minutes.
Yes, here we go. Okay, so I think we're going to end it here. Let's go ahead and we'll show that lit.
That's barely anything.
So this is the 4th day, I believe, we've done this. Maybe if it's less windy, we'll do another live stream tonight because we have all the stuff. But you can still see the individual hairs almost, and it's just now starting to get black. Yeah, charred. Starting to get carbon fouled because the carbon is getting, kind of pulled in and baked into the fiberglass. So eventually, you will have to trim this and advance it. Let's go ahead just to see before we end the live stream. Would they light up?
Would that fully charged
Would it
thing
light up? It would light up.
Oh.
Look at that.
Oh.
That is like a piece of charcoal mess that we've used 4 days in a row. This is cotton. I would fully expect any day now we're going to absolutely have to pull this up. But it's just fun, and all we did was shake it up, and it's been sitting outdoors.
Wasn't there one, or did you throw this one out?
Yeah, what I did was I burned off the fuel that I could, and then we recycled it to make these.
Oh, so you don't have the one that was 2 years ago?
Well, we used it actually for the first day. The first day we actually used it. So let's see. Let's put this one inside of a shroud because I bet it'll need it. Look at that. That one even lights up too. So it's super windy today, so we're going to have to cut it short. But I wanted to show, this is at least 4 days in a row. I've used these. In the several of the tests, we blew it out, relit it, blew it out, relit it. And
that's kind of like well, this is a fire, so it's not a light switch. Because you told me that don't turn a light switch off and on and off.
Sure. So that's probably okay to light and relight a fire, but definitely it's not good for a bulb to have it on, turn off the switch, and then immediately turn it back on. That's a recipe for having a blown out bulb.
Alright, we probably should end
Okay,
here.
let's blow it out here. So as you can see, these work day after day after day. We got to do some good things though. We were able to help show how to thread wick through glass holders.
Most
and
importantly,
through ceramic holders.
We would show instead of it won't stay lit.
Instead of it won't,
will stay lit.
It always stays lit. Yeah.
Maybe not always, but
well, unless there's 20 or 30 mile an hour wind, then it kind of has trouble staying lit. So anyway, thank you very much, everybody. We're going to end it here just because of wind issues. Thank you very much for tuning in. Everybody have a good evening.
Bye.
And let's end this one here. How do we... Alright, this one's going to be a little more difficult. Yeah, well, I can't even see the screen either. All right. Bum, bum, bum. That's funny. Just wondering on the tablet where the end stream button is. Yeah, let's just go ahead and we're going to have to.
Turn it off.
Bum, bum, bum. That's so funny. You think they would have an enormous button that says